Hey friends, my name is Ryan,
And I'm Brie.
and on today's adventure, we're going to bring you to Washington, D.C. We're going to go to Ford's Theater. This is the theater that Abraham Lincoln was shot in, and we're going to do a tour of the museum. My goal is to just give you an overview and just some tips, so if you're planning to come here, help you save some time and money. So first of all, it is a timed entry. Our advice is reserve a time online. Tickets come out to $3.50 a person. You could walk up to the box office and perhaps get an entry, but it's no guarantee, so definitely try to get a reservation in advance online if you can. And they do have audio tours available for $5 each. We do recommend the audio tour. There's lots to enjoy throughout this museum. There are no food and drink. They will let you bring a bottle of water. Strollers are permitted in the theater and museum. We are going to the Ford's Theater in the museum that's below it. Across the street is the Petersen House, which we would recommend doing if you can. We'll talk about that later in the video. But let's head down the stairs to the actual museum section before we head into the theater. I was really excited to go to this particular museum. My dad took me here when I was a teenager, so I was really excited to take our teenager and Brie into this museum.
I was excited to come here. This was my very first time being here, and it really was a step back in history to see what life was like back then.
This is a really well done museum, especially at $3.50. I felt like we definitely got our money's worth. There's so many things to read, so many different videos throughout the museum that you can just stop and at your own pace watch. I didn't feel rushed through this museum at all. You can just kind of at your leisure move around as a couple, as a family, and see lots of different things from history, like lots of these pieces from the White House at the time of Lincoln. Moving along through the museum, we came to this little room. We Cannot Escape History, a little movie that has some seats over here to the left. You can watch and learn all about Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln and their relationship. And it's very interesting. Definitely worth the 5-minute movie to stop and learn more about these two individuals.
This museum was just full of history. It's just a wonderful place to bring your kids so they can understand the history of our country. And it's just a very relaxing place to kind of, like we said, take your time and walk through.
This was a fantastic little spot to stop and get a photo, which is what we did with the theater as the backdrop. They did have this little bookstore in the museum. We'll show you the larger gift shop up above later in the video. They had all sorts of different sized pennies that you could get, which reminded me that Lincoln could never be charged of a crime. He'll always be innocent. Moving on through the museum, we come to a bunch of different weapons here. You can read all about the details of different items, but we come around the corner and learn more about John Wilkes Booth, and this particular item was very interesting to see in person. Was the actual gun that Booth used to assassinate Lincoln. Here in this case, you can see a little audio recording up above that you can click on and listen to and learn all about this particular gun.
And I just want to say we do highly recommend the audio tour. It just gives you so much more history to listen to as you're going through the museum.
So you're able to get pretty close here and see the details of the gun. But what else I thought was pretty neat is you can actually feel what a modern version of a .44 caliber lead ball would be like. So it's great for kids of all ages to be able to come here and interact with this particular exhibit. Moving on, you can actually read Lincoln's last speech. And we have another case here of a lot of interesting items.
These were a lot of the items that were used on the night of his assassination, like the pillow they put under his head, or the different pieces of the room that he was in.
Yeah, I think it says here the Booth's door wedge that was used to block people out from coming into the theater upon attempting the assassination. So we moved on from this particular area to head up some stairs. This section of hallway was very interesting. As you walked through this hallway, you could actually read the timeline of April 14th, 1865 side by side. You can see what Lincoln was doing minute by minute throughout the day, and on the other side, what Booth was doing on that same day throughout the day. So very interesting to see. As we head up to the theater, if you haven't yet subscribed, it's a great way to support our efforts to bring you more tours just like this. But let's head into Ford's Theater.
As we head down this hallway, you can see the date of Lincoln's assassination, but you can also see minute by minute with pictures of what was going on that day.
One side had everything Booth was doing at different hours of the day, and on the other side, you can see what Lincoln was doing at particular moments throughout the day. Very neat way to kind of bring you back to that day before we head into the theater. We started out going to the lower level of the theater. You can see some production equipment over here to the left, but you're looking at the balcony where Lincoln sat the night of his assassination.
Up there where the American flags are, and it's a beautiful theater, as you can see. They actually still have performances in it today.
As we head upstairs, I will let you know that you can access the lower level of the museum we were just at and the balcony levels of the theater via an elevator that they do have in the main lobby. But we're going to work our way over to where Lincoln was sitting as we walk along this little back section here. And as you walk in, they have this little concave plexiglass, so you can stick your head in and look around. It's really neat to feel like you're, again, back in time and in the room the night that this occurred.
And just so you know, Lincoln loved the theater. That's why he was there that night. This was a place where he could go and just rest from all his work of the day and just enjoy some time with his wife.
And I did remember asking, well, if it was Lincoln, why is George Washington's photo there? And back here in the very back, you'll actually see there is a U.S. National Park ranger, which we live in the Smoky Mountains. I'm used to seeing them out around the woods. So there was a ranger back here. I walked up, he had a table and showed us this photo of how it was decorated the night that he came to the theater and explained they tried to make it look as presidential as possible at that time. So it was nice to have somebody there to ask questions and answer more details about the theater.
As we left the theater, we made sure to stop by the larger gift shop on the main floor, and they had lots of goodies that we could pick from. They had shirts and books, and of course lots of pennies and $5 bill items.
Yeah, this one over here I thought was pretty interesting. You could actually get an Abraham Lincoln $100,000 reward poster. So lots of neat things that you can take home from your time at Washington, D.C. So that's a look inside of Ford's Theater. As we mentioned at the beginning of the video, you can also go over to the Petersen House. Unfortunately, we could not go to the Petersen House on this particular visit. It was not open for visits, but we highly recommend it. I did this with my dad when I was younger. Very neat to see the actual home that Lincoln was brought to after he was shot. So we definitely recommend trying to do both Ford's Theater and the Petersen House. We'll try to come back on a future date and show you what that house is like. But that wraps up our look at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up if you found it helpful. Feel free to hit that subscribe button, as we will be doing more tours of things to do in Washington, D.C. and beyond. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next adventure.